Hi everyone, welcome to Mercurius Being Astro Update. I am Amy and I am running through the energies of the new moon in Leo, which will be exact on Thursday, July 28th, 12:54 p.m. Central Time. I'll just pull this up so you can see. So we've got the Sun, Moon, and Mercury up here in Leo. We've got a square going from Mercury to Uranus, North Node Mars, and an opposition for Mercury to Saturn, and then I don't have the South Node in Scorpio notated in my chart, but that's what's going on here. We also have Jupiter trining the Sun and Moon for the new moon. So what does that all mean? All right, new moons are a time where we begin. It's an initiation, it's a seeding of the energy. So the Sun went into Leo last week on the 22nd, and I always kind of think that's the first phase of the energy. It's like a little introduction as the Sun moves into that segment of heaven, and it will be about 30 days where it's in each sign. And then the new moon comes along, and that kind of initiates into the energy, and then the full moon comes along and we get the polarity energy, so we get to integrate the polarity of Leo, which is Aquarius, and that'll happen in a couple weeks. And then sometimes you get another lunation in there, but then the Sun moves on to the next sign. So it's kind of a three-part energetic phase, and so we're entering the second part, which is the new moon. And so at this new moon, Leo is all about self-expression. So the Sun and Moon are together in Leo in the segment of heaven called Pushya Nakshatra, and that was still the area of the heaven where Leo, the Sun ingressed last week, and it's the area of nourishment. It's ruled by the deity Brihaspati, who was the teacher of the gods, and has a very Jupiterian energy to it. So there's benevolence and optimism and a sense of comfort associated with this area of the heavens. Brihaspati was the god of sacred speech and prayer and power of spiritual energy through mantra practice. So it's a time of sacred words. So with Leo, the energy of being heard and roaring and creating and communicating, and then we have this energy of Brihaspati to make our words a little more mindful, or be mindful of our words, noticing the power of our words. The Strength card in the tarot is associated with Leo, and if you're familiar with that, that's usually a female figure holding the mouth of the lion, either opening it or closing it, you can't quite tell, but it has this energy of the brute strength of a lion being tamed by the gentleness and kind of quiet gentleness of the maiden. So the ability to tap into this something that's greater than yourself at this time, or using that strength, kind of aligning yourself with the strength of some bigger flow to express what you would like to express, okay? Leo is medically associated with, well, it's your core vitality. So it's associated also with the organ of the heart. It is the spinal cord and the spinal column, the cell nucleus, and light and eyes. So the eyes and light. So there's a lot about light with Leo, and especially this lunation. Bright yellow is associated with Leo, and also associated with Jupiter in Aries, which trines this lunation, as I said. So thinking about drawing in light and also expressing and exuding light. Aries rules the navel chakra, one of the rulers with a Scorpio, the Manipura chakra, which means the city of jewels. So it's all about the wealth within you as well. So there's a connection between the navel chakra and the Ajna chakra, which Leo rules. And the Ajna chakra is all about kind of perception and commanding and your personal wisdom connected with like a greater wisdom or will. All right, the ruling planet of the nakshatra, the specific area of the heavens where this lunation is occurring, is Saturn. So it's kind of an interesting mix. We have all this expansive energy of Jupiter, which can overinflate and overheat and overexpand. It's a lot of hot air, fan the flame energy. But there's also kind of this temperance, I would say, with Saturn. So the energy of commitment and practicality of Saturn. So I kind of get this idea that if you really spend a little time with going within and meditation, you will have access to a really good balance between Saturn and Jupiter, that energy of the Saturn discipline, practicality, contraction, and the Jupiterian expansion and optimism and kind of blowing past your boundaries, okay? Also, at this time, Jupiter is just about ready to go retrograde, and it's stationing retrograde. And so it will be a good time from now until November, when it goes direct again, to reevaluate your belief systems. And because this is a retrograde, you're going to be, it's probably not going to be really outward. You'll be doing this evaluation within. But again, anytime we have this opportunity to reevaluate what it is we're believing, and with the energies of the Mars-Uranus North Node in Taurus being active, allowing yourself to really question what beliefs, again, you've inherited. When I go back to the cell nucleus, even kind of genetically, what's wired in you, and then how you want to create your life. Okay, so just kind of having that in mind, but also like this deep respect for not only how you're doing things and how you're choosing to do something, but also really pondering the belief systems of others and allowing yourself to kind of put this bigger lens on that, so that when you look at other people's belief systems, whether or not they're the same or similar to yours, there's this ability to have them coexist and be balanced, I guess. Does that make sense? That you can have room for both. There's not an either or. Somebody else can have what they believe, and it really doesn't need to affect what you do and what you believe. Okay, so just kind of a respect, I guess. It could be fostered and encouraged at this time. So Mercury in Leo at 18 degrees is hooked into this whole Grand Cross. We've got, I can pull the chart up again. So Mercury's up here, so the sun and moon are at 5 degrees. Mercury's up here at 18 degrees Leo, so that's really tight into the Uranus North Node Mars energy, okay? And it's squaring again, or opposing, excuse me, the Saturn energy, and then squaring the Scorpio energy. So when I said that about Brihaspati having this capacity of sacred speech and prayer and power of spiritual energy through speech and mantra and spiritual practices. So Mercury, because of that grand square, I mean, could be a little hot, a little bit careless. With Mars, it's like there could be angry words. Uranus could be brash or unexpected words, or really out of the blue things that are spoken to you or you're confronted with. And then the Saturn could be really either very harsh or very like the sense of being muted, like, oh, hey, I want to express myself, but the Saturn is kind of shutting it down. And then, of course, the Scorpio aspect always brings in our shadow. So I'm hoping that if you're presented with some weird communication things or some things that really kind of knock you off your feet a little bit, or just really hit you hard in your heart, which would be Taurus, the heart center, like allow yourself to sit with it and really feel into it, maybe do some journaling, and there could be some really important insights that come out of there, out of that work and out of that time spent. It's always an opportunity when those things happen. Usually the first response is kind of like an oh shit, but the second response, or third or fourth or fifth, is it can really be a gift, because usually it comes at you so that, and usually it's something you don't see, so that you can see it. It takes you out of the ordinary time, out of the, ordinary way of doing things and speaking and moving through your day. And then when you're confronted with something like that, it's an opportunity to reevaluate. And so the shadow being that gift of what things when it comes back down to the Taurus energy, what things you are not valuing in yourself, anything to do with self-worth or something in your heart, resources, self-doubt, and then again, that Mercury communication in Leo, like what do you joyfully want to communicate? And how is it getting, kind of going sideways, or maybe some self-sabotage in there, or sabotage. So anyway, I kind of got off the subject there, but I wanted to kind of hook into, besides that Grand Cross, we also have Neptune. It's just a minor aspect to Mercury, biquintile, and then the Chiron in Aries has a trine to the Mercury. And so I also get this energy of that power using the Strength Tarot card and the Brihaspati energy of sacred speech and gentle speech. So also reframing how you speak to yourself and how you're praying and talking and what kind of vibe is that communication within you. So it's like you're invited to connect to a different way of communicating. And maybe it isn't even through words. Of course, I just get this image with Neptune, maybe there's artwork involved, or it's a more poetic or stream of consciousness way of expressing just something out of the ordinary that you hadn't considered, that can become like a prayer, okay? So some other themes, there's just a lot of balance, as I said, with the Jupiter, Saturn, so Jupiter, mercy, and Saturn, severity, love and justice, the energy of power tamed through that gentle strength of spirit. The discipline of Saturn, really persisting and not giving up the first time or the second time or the third time that communication goes awry or what you're trying to create goes awry. Just know that if you persevere, you're creating a body of work. Okay, that's the gift and blessing of Saturn. So just continue, okay? There's a lot of goodness associated with light. There's goodness associated with light. There's goodness associated with the shadow too. We just don't always see it. But just really thinking of looking for the good. I know I mentioned at the Leo ingress something about the prism, and really feeling like the prism or clear gem that you are when you gain this clarity, when you sit within and you evaluate your motivations and your beliefs and have this clarity, then the light can really move through the prism. The light can be reflected and refracted through a prism. Well, maybe the prison of the body, which really isn't a prison. It's an opportunity. It's a gateway to consciousness, a playground of consciousness, right? I guess that's how we view it. Could be any three of those. The soul becomes more resplendent with inner clarity. It's kind of like taking a gem and polishing it, or taking a rough gemstone and polishing it, and so it becomes clearer. So through mantra, through sound, through practice, we kind of clear that gem and polish the gem, and then it becomes a little sharper, it becomes a little clearer, it becomes a better instrument. All right, goodness is hidden everywhere in the universe. Sometimes we have to look a little bit harder to see it. So I know in the Kriya training, one of the sayings is always remember, for the deceased actually, it's kind of a ritual, and it's like remember your past goodness. And I guess at this time I'd really like us all to think, remember your past goodness, and also look for the goodness in everyone. Okay, look for all the goodness that's been given you. Look and remember all the past good deeds of yourself and others. It's like when we do that, we're resurrecting all of the light within the world. It's like turning stones and like noticing things. It's kind of like bringing one's attention to different things. And I get this image now, like kind of like a video game when you walk through and you're like, oh, I see you and I notice the goodness in you. It's almost like a little ping of light is released. So there's just an energy of inward reflection, outward shining, and just being the light. Okay, be the light, be the prism of light, hold the light, channel the light, appreciate the light. So after this new moon, really starting, so that's the 28th, the window for this Mars-Uranus North Node in Taurus conjunction is exact on August 1st. But I would say with Mars, it's about 3 days before and 3 days after. So between 7/29 and 8/4, this is going to be really active. So Uranus in Taurus has been in there since 2018, and it'll be in there till 2025. And it's shaking up our resources. It's shaking up our values. It's allowing us to think differently and go outside the box, or really, for yourself as an individual, decide what's important and placing the importance on that. And then collectively, what are we doing with our resources and how does that help everyone? So Mars is coming along. It's like putting a match to the fire, a match to the gas tank. Anyway, so just expect the air could get a little hotter between this period, a little more unpredictable, a little more volatile. It's just a lot about change, innovation. How can we do things more honestly, authentically, a little more differently? The last time that Mars, Uranus, and the North Node were in Taurus was in May 1855, and right around that time, Jupiter and Neptune conjuncted in Pisces. So here we have it again, Mars, Uranus conjuncting the North Node in Taurus, and this was just a few months ago that Jupiter and Neptune again conjuncted in Pisces back in April, so that's about every 160 some years. So we're really just invited, again, we're dissolving limited and limiting beliefs. We are pushing and being pushed, especially with Mars, kind of like giving it a little extra oomph, to imagine or innovate new ideas, for resources and self-worth and really what's important to you in your heart, and then again collectively how we're handling resources. So this is also an invitation separate from the Leo new moon, this Mars-Uranus in Taurus, which is hooked into the Mercury in Leo and the Saturn and then the shadow of the South Node in Scorpio, to really break through. So this could be a really powerful time. And it all starts when I'm going to bring it all back full circle. When you sit down on your meditation cushion or blanket, or take a walk out in nature, however you connect to yourself and to something bigger than yourself, the vital part of listening, the vital component of listening, of listening in to what's alive in you, to hearing and feeling what's alive within you is the first step. Just being honest with yourself. And whether that's a positive, quote unquote positive, feeling or emotion like joy or love or happiness, contentment, or whether it's an emotion of yearning, longing, sadness, anger, that's all just a big scale. But being honest with your starting point and listening to that is the beginning of your song. It's just the listening. And then you add the words, the sacred rhythms. And by sacred, I mean honoring what's present, honoring what's alive, honoring what's real within you. And then knowing that everyone else has their own rhythm, has their own sense of center, and just listening in to them as well. And then, when you feel ready, you can bring forth with a word or a song or vibration. And then at some point that dissolves down back into silence and resonance. And that is it. So have a happy and wonderfully well-lit and goodness-filled new moon in Leo.